Welcome back and thank you for joining us for this 20th anniversary UN Global Compact Leaders Summit. We're now very pleased to share a number of messages from high-level government leaders. Governments are critical stakeholders of the UN Global Compact, providing essential support to our initiative. We're grateful for the contributions of the UN Global Compact Government Group to help us deliver this Leaders Summit. Now we'll hear some short messages from Denmark, Poland, Sweden, the African Union, Norway, Malta and Italy.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to join you on this UN Global Compact Leaders Summit. Denmark is a strong supporter of the UN Global Compact, and I'm happy to see that businesses are committed to create the world we want. The COVID-19 pandemic is threatening the progress on global goals and the Paris Agreement. Individual action will not be sufficient response. We need a whole-of-society approach based on international cooperation and solidarity. More than ever, we need businesses in collaboration with other stakeholders to remain committed to the global goals and the Paris Agreement. This includes respecting and supporting the principles of the UN Global Compact on human rights, labor rights, environment and anti-corruption. COVID-19 is disruptive and devastating. At the same time, the socio-economic response presents opportunities to go green and sustainable. We must ensure that the response promotes climate-resilient solution, that it creates decent jobs and vocational training, and at the same time promotes gender equality and women and girls' rights. It is now that we can build back better and greener. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I want to extend a special thank you to Lise Kingo. You have built a strong organization and created closer ties with the UN system. You have done a tremendous job in mobilizing business around the world on the SDGs and the Paris Agreement. I also want to warmly welcome Sanda Ujambo as new Executive Director of the UN Global Compact. We look forward to a fruitful collaboration. Thank you.
Dear participants of the United Nations Global Compact Leaders Summit 2020, we meet today on the 20th anniversary of the United Nations Global Compact. Your mission, uniting business for a better world, is a serious challenge. But over the years, the Global Compact has proved to be a leading platform for the development, implementation, and dissemination of responsible and sustainable corporate policy. Through a wide spectrum of activities, cooperation with the governments, public administration, private sector and NGOs, Global Compact contributes day by day to the implementation of the SDGs and dissemination of the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact among business around the world. Let me congratulate you on all your success and wish you all the best for the future. During this Leaders Summit, I will have the pleasure to meet you during the panel dedicated to climate change and just transition. Together with EIB and my colleagues from Poland, Ukraine, Georgia and Turkey, we will discuss actions that should be taken to accelerate the transformation from grey to green economy and what role the government and business need to play in this process. The climate is our common concern. There is no doubt that business has a vital role to play in reaching the objectives of the Paris Agreements. The pandemic is testing our political determination to reach long-term goals and the resilience of our economies to current crisis. Our economies are now weakened, therefore many are questioning the political direction we have chosen to follow. However, we are not going to stop, and we plan to stick to our long-term vision of transformation to a clean and green economy, as well as building collectively a climate neutrality EU. We understand the goal of climate neutrality as a collective goal, taking into account different starting points and potentials. For Poland, achieving this goal is a cost-effective and just manner is a key issue. We need to act at 4 levels: secure the ongoing key projects, reinforce the critical sectors in achieving climate neutrality, boost innovation, and protect the most affected. The cooperation of business and national and local governments is crucial in transitioning to a green economy. The government alone is not able to fund all the necessary investments to achieve climate goals. We can learn from each other how to better program our policies or what kind of legislation changes are needed to facilitate green economy and green projects. Actions taken by both sides, entrepreneurs and public administration, for climate protection must be honest, carefully thought out, and based on understanding of this great challenge ahead of all of us. As the Minister for Regional Policy, I cannot forget about another specific issue. Climate change will also affect the dynamic of urban development and thus the quality of life of their inhabitants. This important topic was discussed during the last World Urban Forum convened by UN Habitat in Abu Dhabi in February this year. The outcome of the forum, known as the Abu Dhabi Declared Actions, include commitments from international organizations, national, local, and regional governments, the private sector, civil society, academia, and others to support the implementation of the new urban agenda as an accelerator to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in this decade of action. As the host of the next World Urban Forum in Katowice 2022, I believe that this will be also a unique opportunity to take a comprehensive look at the challenges for cities and business related to climate change and environmental quality. I'm very satisfied that during the Leaders' Summit we will have the opportunity to hear the leading voices from the United Nations, government, business, and academia, and have a global conversation about how we rebuild more inclusive economies and societies to set a new course for a socially just, low-carbon, and climate-resilient world, where no one is left behind.
Dear leaders, today we celebrate 20th anniversary of United Nations Global Compact, and I would like to congratulate Lise Kingo for her leadership during last years and all of you for your involvement for a better Earth. As COP24 President, I had the privilege to run COP24, which took place in Katowice, and where we adopted Silesia Declaration for Just Transition and Solidarity. So, 2 questions on which you are going to debate are extremely close to my heart and are extremely close to our view regarding the future. Climate and inequalities, making our planet a better place to live and not leaving anybody behind. That is the challenge that we raised as governments, but you are continuously raising this challenge in your everyday job. And I would like to thank you very much for that. Without you, without combination of public and private money, without common reflection about future innovations and new technologies, without this constant focus on people, we will not be able to reach our climate and economic goals. So I would like to encourage you on that way, and as COP24 President of a successful meeting in Katowice, I keep my fingers crossed for the next COP26, which will not exceptionally take place in Glasgow this year, but only next year in Great Britain. We can work till then both together, private and public sector, and I'm very pleased to be with you today.
We are gathered at the UN Global Compact Leaders Summit to mark 20 years of uniting business for a better world. This is a time for reflection on what is fundamentally important during and beyond an unprecedented global crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic is a global health, economic and social crisis. The free world and open society, as we know it, have partly and temporarily been shut down for many citizens. The world is in crisis management mode and international systems are being challenged. Factories have had to close as global value chains have been severely interrupted. People have lost their jobs. The pandemic will not last forever, but its effects will be felt for years to come. The pandemic will hit poor countries and the most vulnerable. We must ensure that financial support benefits everyone and that we build a more sustainable and equitable economy over the long term. The Global Deal Initiative and social dialogue will be key to mitigate the impact on the economy. Democracy and women's human rights must be protected. The fight against corruption is a priority. The Sustainable Development Goals provide the framework for more inclusive and sustainable economies and societies. The pandemic is thereby presenting us with major new challenges. We are experiencing something unprecedented in modern times. The crisis is not a time for less cooperation or more protectionism. International cooperation is needed to manage the crisis, to tackle the health emergency, but also to focus on the social impacts and the economic recovery. Open trade is crucial for tackling the pandemic and for long-term recovery. Sweden is proud to partner up with 175 countries in a joint statement on the importance of open markets, flow of essential goods and supply chain connectivity as a response to COVID-19. To increase the supply of essential goods, Sweden has launched the initiative Trade for Health to suspend EU tariffs on medical equipment. In the largest ever UN-backed CEO-led climate advocacy effort, more than 150 global corporations have reaffirmed their commitments to achieve zero carbon economy and call on governments for net zero recovery from COVID-19. Earlier this year, the Swedish government launched a platform for international sustainable business with an expressed expectation on Swedish companies to act sustainably and responsibly by working for human rights, gender and equality, good working conditions, the environment, climate, and to combat corruption. This is crucial when we together build back better and stronger after the pandemic. Sweden has since long been a strong supporter of the UN Global Compact, and we now give support to your work on decent work in global supply chains and on sustainability in procurement. I want to commend you for engaging the business community in Agenda 2030 and for the appeals to take collective business action against the COVID-19 pandemic. The 10 principles of the UN Global Compact guide business leaders in responding to the crisis and provide ideas and inspiration in these uncertain times. You thereby stand together to protect employees and workers in the supply chains and to facilitate business continuity for a fast recovery. I do look forward to work together with you on all these important issues. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Africa is the last continent affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The evolution of a number of contamination cases is explained by the community transmission and the issue of carrying out massive screening tests. What deserves to be noted here is that so far the death rate is 3% on average across of African continent. The socio-economic impacts are considerable. For instance, the African country affected by the fall in oil prices lost between 17 and 18% public revenue. African airlines report a shortfall of $6 billion and 3 million direct and indirect jobs in the tourism and the travel sector are threatened. Because of economic slowdown and lockdown procedures, around $5 billion in revenues lost monthly in Africa. Besides, due to the socio-economic structure of African countries, the pandemic could cause 27 million people to fall into extreme poverty. To deal with the pandemic and ensure the economic vitality, African countries have employed fiscal and monetary policies. For its part, the African Union has set up a special fund for the pandemic to allow the Africa CDC to play its role of coordinating the activities and building the capacity of a member state. In addition, negotiations were conducted with international financial institutions. As such, 19 African countries have benefited from the IMF's debt relief, and 40 African countries have benefited from unaware debt moratorium from G20 initiative, and 20 African countries have benefited from a zero interest loan under the IMF's rapid credit facility, equivalent to a total amount of in dollar 18 billion. Thus, this support from international financial institutions is certainly important, but nevertheless insufficient. Indeed, no one can predict the crisis evolution. Governments have faced unexpected spending and tax revenues are dropping considerably. In this regard, I call for reconsideration of African public debt and financial support for economic recovery, which would help the private sector to play its role as engine of growth. I also call on foreign investors to invest in Africa under the win-win concept and locally transform the raw materials of continent. This would, among other things, create added value for raw materials, and provide more employment opportunities to absorb the 10 to 12 youth Africans entering the labor market each year. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear members of the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative, I am delighted and honored to have the opportunity to speak to you at this year's Leadership Summit. UN Global Compact is an important initiative. It brings together governments, businesses, and civil society in a common effort to find solutions to the many challenges the world is facing. And I'm proud to announce that over 150 Norwegian companies have become members of UN Global Compact. I hope even more will join in the future. The world's countries have a big and important mission. We must manage to achieve the right balance between production and protection. The Sustainable Development Goals and the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact are among our best guidelines. They help us find the right path into the future. The global community have set quite ambitious goals, and to achieve these goals is absolutely necessary. We must reduce carbon emissions. We have to secure healthy food for the world's population. We must manage our natural resources in a sustainable way. We must ensure high environmental standards in industrial productions and within transport and trade. In addition, we must strive to create jobs and enable economic growth all over the world. And Norway is taking these challenges seriously. My government expects Norwegian companies to comply with internationally recognized standards for responsible business conduct. And we encourage Norwegian companies to make their best efforts in contributing to the 2030 agenda. We are focused on creating a green and blue future. And to achieve this, Norway is committed to investing more in research and innovation. We aim to be a world leader in the development of zero and low emission solutions for all vessels. Our ambition is to reduce emissions from domestic shipping and fishing vessels by half by 2030. We will also continue to promote the development of offshore wind farms. This includes increased focus on more professional supply chains and delivery systems for offshore wind projects. Finally, we will continue working towards a more circular economy to ensure that our resources are managed even better. Norway also supports the UN Global Compact Action Platform for Sustainable Ocean Businesses. The platform enables greater cooperation between governments and companies worldwide in order to ensure healthy oceans. As a resource for sustainable growth, renewable energy, food and climate action, the health of our ocean is crucial to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Dear all, this year we celebrate 20 years of global collaboration. We can only create a better future if we continue to work together. And this is the foundation of sustainable development. Let us continue this important work and create a better and more sustainable future for everyone on this planet. Thank you so much for your attention.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am sincerely honored to address the United Nations Global Compact Virtual Leaders Summit as we commemorate the 20th anniversary of this initiative. The fragility exposed by COVID-19 has brought home to us the significance of solidarity and in taking well-thought-out immediate action in unison. It is in the spirit that the United Nations was formed 75 years ago. Echoing the sentiment of His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres to the Forum of Small Countries last week, no country is safe and healthy until all countries are safe and healthy. The way we respond to challenges can make or break us. As an island nation with a multilateralist outlook, Malta has always maintained that global challenges require global solutions. COVID-19 reminded us how interconnected our world really is, and that local and regional events can have serious repercussions on a global scale. Over the years, we have collectively surpassed each unprecedented challenge, whatever the form and context. History has repeatedly shown that only by revitalizing and refocusing our efforts through multilateral action can we secure lasting, inclusive, and sustainable solutions. Each and every one of us is merely a piece within a much larger picture as we contribute to our present and define our future. In doing so, the Agenda 2030, the Paris Agreement, and the Addis Ababa Action Accord should remain our compass towards recovery. Malta has sought to remain proactive and to take various steps to contribute towards promoting dialogue on different issues, from law of the sea and oceans matters to climate change and aging. We have also sought to harness relations with international organizations as well as with partner countries. This forward-driven approach has provided my country with unprecedented opportunities to harness growth and prosperity, as we also embrace novelty and transformation. In honor of my country, I close by sharing that Malta has been appointed as a co-chair of the United Nations Steering Committee on Partnerships for Small Island Developing States, a responsibility which we shall seek to take forward in serving our international community at the highest level of commitment and with the understanding that resilience is not determined by the size of the country. I thank you for this opportunity to share a few words, and I congratulate you all for fruitful discussions over the next 2 days.
The 20th anniversary of the United Nations Global Compact occurs this year at an historical juncture due to the COVID-19 global and multifaceted impact. I am grateful to the United Nations Global Compact for the opportunity to address this 2020 Leaders Summit. This event coincides with the high point of our expectations for a solid and effective recovery. We all reckon it must be a recovery aiming at transforming our economic and societal model in a better one. Prevention and preparedness for the present and future crises, protection and resilience to any kind of external and internal shock, and justice and inclusiveness are among the prerequisites for granting the needed longer-term sustainability we all strive for. Starting next December, when Italy will take over the G20 presidency, we will be called to play a leading role in many sectors and steer the international community to further global governance in order to provide effective solutions. The Italian G20 presidency will address the issue of the COVID-19 impact on our societies and economies and will favor the most appropriate responses to be adopted in all related fields. A better recovery, we all know, is based on a renewed approach to energy and green transition, digital transformation, finance, employment, gender equality, and, in general, a fairer distribution of opportunities. The people, the planet, and the prosperity of our economies are at the center of our strategy at both national and EU level. In this context, the 2030 Agenda and the Paris Agreement must continue to be the pillars of our action. UNFCCC Bureau agreed recently on the new 2021 dates for the COP26, and Italy is preparing to host the pre-COP as well as another gathering, the Youth for Climate Change Conference. It is crucial, more so in light of ongoing pandemic, to promote the engagement of the young generations in our decision-making processes. In this sense, we appreciate that Next Generation EU is the name that the European Union recently adopted for the European Union Recovery Plan. The success of climate action relies critically on the inclusion of all actors involved in pursuing a decoupling of growth and energy consumption, decarbonization of the economy, and transition towards renewable resources, in line with the objective of the Paris Agreement. The concept of a green recovery, as in Article 2 of the Paris Agreement, will be a significant factor over the next year and provides both challenges and opportunities for the business sector. The stimulus packages offered by the governments are an excellent opportunity to ensure that the essential task of building a secure and sustainable energy future does not get lost amid the flurry of immediate priorities. The UNGC Leader Summit is very timely, and it is quite encouraging to listen to the prevailing message arising from such a distinguished group of private sector representatives. The private sector is called upon to play a responsible and proactive role as a well-established global stakeholder for a transformative model of development. However, in order to achieve that goal, we shall make the right use and take advantage of all our resources, expression of our entire human and social capital. A vibrant economy and a sustainable society cannot nourish its development perspectives without the involvement of their small and medium-sized enterprises, a lively and new business model, as well as an ultimate driver for larger innovation. In this context, the gender parity must be a huge traction force for the private sector. In this time of pandemic, women living in conditions were jeopardized both in the family circle and in their working context. Nevertheless, at the same time, women provided an immediate and effective response to several challenges posed by the unexpected situation, thanks to their creativity and reaction resources. UNGC should continue to favor gender balance in the corporate and working environment as a point of strength of the business success. Italy, after France and Sweden, is in the European Union the country with the highest percentage of women serving in corporate boards. The present crisis might result in being a watershed in the way business is perceived and practiced. Providing social inclusion in all its forms and addressing the various inequalities rank very high in implementing a sustainable approach in our societies and at a global level. UNGC is going to experience very soon an important change of leadership, and I wish to thank Liz Kingo for a stewardship all along her term of duty and for her accomplishments. The new executive director, Sandra Ojamba, with her rich and qualified background, is a representative of the Global South, an area full of promising perspectives for the sustainable development. Italy will keep supporting UNGC on that path. Thank you.